10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Through Black and White Eyes. No Dan tonight, unfortunately. He's just not feeling well. So big shout out to Dan. Hope he gets well soon. Please adhere to standard community guidelines. Keep comments respectful, and of course, enjoy the show. It's going to be a difficult one tonight because it feels like a loss, even though it wasn't a loss, but that's what it feels like. Please like, share, subscribe, hype at the end of the show to promote it. It really does help. You can join if you want to, bottom left-hand corner. And yeah, just enjoy the show. Roger, Blade, Gary, Leslie, all great to have them in the chat as always. Harry says he'll be here. I don't know where he is. He hasn't made it yet. Jules. But the award-winning Sparky is here.
Yes. Good evening, Baz. How we doing? And I had a little conversation a little bit earlier on. Just like you were saying, it does feel like a defeat, and I can't indulge all about that match last night, man. Honestly, what happened at the end there? Like,
We'll all come to that. Far too early to be asking that question.
Oh, I know, mate. But
I asked the questions as well.
Really looking forward to obviously being online and live and directly there tonight. Obviously, I know we've got a couple of announcements to make regarding future plans for February and that. So, looking forward to cracking on with Harry as well along the way as well. Welcome him back on.
He's on his way.
Got a couple of little shout outs to do. And that's Scott and Wilson. North Shields, massive respect to you guys, and I'll see you in the morning for something that we're cooking up nice and special for Derby Day. And I want to give JJ from the 420 Mags a massive shout out as well for sharing the channel and getting involved.
JJ's a good lad. He's going to be making some stuff for us, hopefully. I'm going to have a chat with him tomorrow.
He's my
stuff. My stuff's rubbish. So I'm hoping his stuff will get a little bit better. So before we get into the aftermath of the game, because Harry's not quite here yet, I want to address the Eddie Howe out stuff. I don't understand it. I don't know if you can shed a different light on it, but this is the way I look at it. I put a message out saying everyone's got short memories. You know, in the last 70 years, we haven't won a trophy. Eddie Howe wins us our first trophy. We have a little bit of a blip at the start of this season, but again, we've had a horrible summer because of the way the Isaac situation went down. The players came in late. He hasn't even had his full proper team to pick from yet. And we've got 19 points. We're about 3 points behind what we had last season. But everyone has a meltdown every time something goes against us. I don't understand this whole bipolar in our fan base. There's no middle ground of anyone.
It's absolutely crazy. I mean, those shouting for Eddie out, I don't know what they're shouting about. I mean, even if worst case scenario he did go, looking at the manager market and the availability of managers that are kicking about, there's no one really like that. That's like a standout replacement, you know. I mean, like just what you've just hit the nail right on the head. We've had an absolute nightmare during the preseason. You know, for a fact, it would have affected the other players within the camp as well, like some onside, some offside, with like obviously the way that he's going on and things like that. Obviously, so I know some of the players did publicly come out and wish him well and things like that on his next adventure. Obviously, we're signing in late. Obviously, the whole Wissa saga that happened at Brentford. It was just
nobody could have foreseen his injury either, could they? I mean, he could have been a cracking signing.
Yeah, I mean, to be totally honest, Eddie is cooking, mate. Eddie's cooking, and the two young lads that will be missing for the last handful of games in young Lewis Hall and obviously Tyne, that had a massive impact on us, and obviously the way that we play, plus obviously Emil Kraft then went out, obviously Cream Trippier went out. It's really good news that Wissa is not going to obviously the African Cup of Nations, and I'm really, really looking forward to the second half of the season. And as a lifelong Newcastle United fan, since the days of like Freddie Shepherd and things like that, Newcastle United have always, we've got really, really good points on the board this season for some of the teams, and obviously you've competing on all fronts as well. However, if you look back in history, Newcastle United always have a little down half of the season, and then the second half, guns blazing. And I'm really, really excited to see what Eddie's got cooking up. And no shouting for Eddie out. I haven't got a clue, mate.
I don't get it. But Chess says he's not heard any of it, but it is mainly on socials, to be fair. That's probably the reason why he hasn't heard it. Sunderland being where they are won't help some of the fan base, but Basu will never understand such fans. They yo-yo like it's going out of fashion. Only happy mourning. Some people are only happy mourning, to be fair. 2 cup finals and 2 UEFA Champions League seasons under 5 years, saved from certain allegation. Countless players improved. Eddie for life in my eyes. I mean, a lot of people say he's got too much credit in the bank. I don't think he has. Some people say he has bottled a final. I said, well, at the end of the day, we lost the one to Man United, but there wasn't anything to do with the preparation. I just don't think the players were ready for it themselves. I just think we had an off day. But then if he was a bottler as a manager, he would have lost both cup finals. He wouldn't have won one. Yeah. You can't be a bottler one year and not a bottler the next year. That's the way I see it. So it's just so funny.
Oh, definitely it is, man. In regard to the first final, when obviously against Manchester United, obviously Nick broke that absolute mayhem. I'm sure players injured are in there as well along the way. However, if you listen to Eddie Howe on the second, when we went to the final against Liverpool and won it, if you listen to an interview that he'd done, he was like, right, we had the experience of losing. We didn't get the preparation right. We only arrived to London like a night before. We stayed in the hotel that was surrounded in Wembley. This time we've stayed away from Wembley, away from the noise, actually being able to focus in the camp. So I'm honestly, I love Ed because he's always forever wanting to learn more, and he's always wanting to like grow as a person as well. And
he's definitely not a bottler.
Well, I don't know about that enough. With Graham,
you're breaking up, Sparky. You're like a Dalek. That's a bit better. I can see you now.
Am I back?
I can see you moving now.
Sorry about that there. Yeah, I do apologise there. So, I mean, as I was saying, like with Eddie Howe, I mean, for me, I think he's just got everything going for him at the minute. As I say, he's with the backroom staff. You can tell that the morale's up. I mean, look at that goal that I know that we'll probably be talking about it later, but I just want to highlight when Anthony Gordon got his first goal since January, was it last night when he hit it from the penalty spot? And the team morale, like doing the handshakes and the hug and the unity in that dressing room. We are now starting at the start of the season. It definitely affected with that Isaac saga. But looking at that goal with Anthony Gordon, he's under a lot of pressure from the fans. Probably by England as well, obviously, to put in
by himself
on that lane. And I know how much he loves to put the graft in. So it was good seeing that whole celebration as a team yesterday.
I love it. Yep, spot on. Right, let's bring Harry in. He's made it. How are you doing, Harry?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you all?
Yeah.
I am right again
as always. Get on socials. You're not missing out on anything. I have to be on social media, unfortunately. If you want to do stuff like this, You've got to be on it. Harry says, big up chat. He's obviously here. I want to get your little thoughts on Eddie Howe, because obviously you've been through a manager change. You had a manager who won a trophy last season. Big Ange wasn't everyone's cup of tea because of his style of play. He left it very high line, very predictable to play against. You had a horrible Premier League season. And then you've now gone on to who I think is a fantastic manager in Tom Frank. I would have had him when we had Steve Bruce and Brentford was still in the Championship. I said I would love him as a Newcastle manager. Eddie Howe didn't really come into my mind, to be honest with you, until obviously the takeover and everyone started talking about him. Thomas Frank was the man for me. Obviously, I'm pleased with who we've got. But you've been through that manager change after he's won a trophy, and it's still not as rosy as everyone would thought it was going to be. So is this kind of a warning to a lot of Newcastle fans? The grass isn't always greener.
Firstly, good evening and thanks for having me. I think you make some good points. I think for me, with Thomas Frank, I'm 100% behind him, and I wanted to stay, to be honest with you, but I also looked at it and went, look, Frank, I like the appointment. And it just is this big divide, Baz, within the Spurs fan base where they go, look, you're Frank Orange. And I'm defending Frank and I'm getting told, literally so many people are saying to me, look, shame you didn't defend the trophy winning manager. I'm like, hang on a minute, just because you don't know me, I defended Ange until the end. To be honest with you, I probably clutched onto it for weeks later because he delivered the first trophy of my lifetime. And, still the thought of Ange coming back, it brings a smile to my face because of what he achieved. But I look back now and probably go, well, it's probably right to, go. I think his football was very extreme and it wasn't suited to the Premier League. But with Eddie Howe, which you've asked me on, I like him. I don't think he gets enough credit from outside of Newcastle fans. I think what he done with Bournemouth was incredible. There's no getting away from that. I honestly think it was. And he won a trophy with you guys. And, a lot of people go, yeah, but the money Newcastle got, but you actually haven't spent much of that money because of financial regulation. So, people who don't watch football are lazy. And, I like my dad, of course, but I'll be honest with you, he often, the first thing he would say is, yeah, but Newcastle, that money, they could do better than Eddie Howe. I'll go, yeah, but they haven't spent all that money there. They've got restrictions. So that context is important. People just jump to conclusions. Yeah, but Saudi money. I don't think that's really come into play much at all. So I think Howe's done a great job. And Newcastle has always been, because one club in the city, the community feel, something that Tottenham I'd love to have, and we're massively missing right now. Huge, disconnect between the fans and the players. But Eddie Howe's only increased that and made that better. Kind of unity within the team. That's what he's about. That's what Thomas Frank's about as well. So you're right to make that comparison. I still think Eddie Howe's the right manager. I'll be honest with you. I know you're going to ask me about it. I'll just briefly say yesterday, I don't think you were at your best. I've seen you play a lot better. But at the same time, I think you like that clinical edge. So many opportunities, whether it be two players that come into each other, when the ball goes at the back post, little things like that, you just think, on another day, you probably score that. So I think it's a fine margins that are costing Newcastle at the moment. And, I think you will get points and you work your way up the table. I think you do well like you are already in the Champions League. So I don't think there's any need to panic. And Eddie Howe's very, very good and has been across his whole career at proving doubters wrong. So this won't be, the last trophy, make no mistake about it, that he wins at Newcastle, and it won't be the last in his career at all. So I just think it's a little bit of a blip, but I think he'll come round. That's the reality. You can't really be competing for, right at the top of the Premier League and probably juggle the Champions League as well. This year you're look already stronger in the Champions League. I know you were right last year, last time you were in it. You're better. I think people again thought you're robbed, weren't you, that awful decision against PSG. But this year for me, you look even stronger in the Champions League. I'll keep more competitive. Yeah, no need to jump to conclusions.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. I really don't. And but everyone who's Eddie Howe out, you then ask them, who would you like? And then nobody can pick a manager out who would come in and do a better job or who they would like to see. I think the one answer I got, which I thought was a really pathetic one, was, well, I'm not paid the money to make that decision. I'm like, we're not paid the money to make the decision that he's not good enough either.
Yeah.
So why, do you know what I mean? It's like, come on, have a word with yourself. Right, let's get into the thick of it. So it was a Desmond. I predicted Desmond a few times this season, and I said 3-1 last night, and I was close, but not close enough. Enough goals, but not the right way. I do feel deflated, but we'll go into the action because the first half was crazy in my eyes. I mean, how the ball never hit the back of the onion bag at all in that first half astounded me. Do you think you were too negative in the first half and that's why Newcastle dominated it? Or do you just think we were the better team in that first half and there was not a lot you could have done about it?
It's so difficult to tell because this year we've been really defensive And it seems okay, but then Frank comes out after the game and like, you know, he's kind of said that almost hinted that's the way that he planned to play, but then he pushed back on that against Fulham, where he played the same as he had the games before. So it's a little bit confusing. I don't know how much of it is the players just falling back into a trap almost. We've had that before. Like Conte used to say very similar things to Frank, look, almost like this is not what I'm telling the players to do, which is really concerning when you're getting the team coming out and having like no shots on target, and you're getting the manager going, well, I didn't set the team up like that, without saying it in black and white. Conte's difference is Conte said it in black and white. Conte went, look, you're not good enough. They're failing upstairs. He'd just say it. And Mourinho would go even further and list the names, whereas Conte would list out the players. But Frank won't do that. He's a nicer guy, etc. But no, it's difficult to tell. I think you were definitely the better side across the 90. Firstly, we'll say that, and then definitely better than us in the first half. But I think the game plan would have been to what I call shut up shop and counter-attack. But the problem I do have, and I'm massively behind Frank, I can't reiterate that enough. I'm not like maybe some of the social media fan base. But you got to get out when you play defensive. It doesn't work if you don't get out. If you have 25, 30 minutes of Newcastle pressure, you will crumble in the end. I think if you were a little bit better, we potentially could have. And we didn't really get out at all until the 40th minute. I think we had one breakthrough Bergvall. I think maybe Kudus as well, both involved, trying to get us forward. That's the problem. You can't just rely on one. You need to rely on at least, you say, a couple of moments for Spurs on the counter. So I think if that half went on, you would have scored. That's the problem. But no, I think we, at the same time, you could say, look at that and go, we defended well, but the counter-attack point wasn't there, and we did improve in the second half. But Spurs fans don't like the way we set up. I don't know where, well, I do know a little bit, but generally speaking, don't know where it's come from. There's an entitlement within the fan base, which I think needs calling out, and there's this expectation that we play a certain way. Well, I'm sorry, but football matches decided, and managers' careers are decided on results. They're not decided on how you play, whether you people please, your fan please. It doesn't matter whether you're on or off your seat. Of course, you want to play handball. It's exciting, value for money, whatever way you want to look at it. But it's not sustainable. Frank ball is sustainable. Thomas Frank's teams are sustainable, and they are flexible in games. So that's where I stand. But I think at Spurs, Frank potentially isn't the right fit, as much as I want it to work, because this is entitlement. He's got to play, a certain way, and I just don't agree with it. I mean, it's an outdated view, unfortunately.
Very interesting, because Brentford, I mean, when he was at Brentford, their home form was formidable. There was not many teams went there and won, but he seems to have sort of reversed his form. He's better away than he is at home. So it's really crazy how that's worked out. Sparky, the first half, I still don't understand how we didn't score. But then when you look at the stats, we never had a shot on target, and that's why we didn't score.
I know, definitely. I mean, to be totally honest, first of all, obviously, I know that we were on just a couple of nights prior to the match, Harry. And to be totally honest, when you were doing your team talk, you've literally got his team selection actually bang on, so you know your stuff. So I was absolutely buzzing with that. Happy days. I mean, in regards to off, I mean, we did do that straight out the blocks, high energy, high pressure. Even when we're doing the goal kicks and things like that, we had 4 players surrounding the box, ready to do the high press. And
forced Tottenham to go along.
Like how you were saying,
we did that.
Yeah, and I actually seen the shift round about the 39-40 minute mark when Spurs actually sussed out, because we're doing the exact same thing for 40 minutes. And then Spurs actually sussed what we're doing and actually counter-attacked our tactics. And that's when they actually started. And then they came up the second half actually flying. But I was buzzing with, obviously, the first half performance, and how that goal just didn't go in the back of the net. I was just what? Absolutely,
it was madness. So frustrating. Joe Linton hit the post with a great effort. It was a tight angle, but nobody following up. And then when the ball went back in, it went to the back post. There was 3 of us free on the back post, and not one of them got a shot off. And somehow it ended up in the keeper's hands. I don't understand how that happened. Harry, you had one massive chance. Bergvall. I mean, what an effort it was. How did he put it over the bar, first of all? Because when you flick the ball like that, you're not expecting to get that elevation on it. And I don't know how it went over the bar. I was like, that's going in. And suddenly it just sailed over. I was like, oh, but what an effort.
No, that just shows, I think, the confidence of a player. And, you know, he's a real special player for me. And, you know, I hate kind of bigging up your own players or anything like that. And, you know, within this Spurs team, I'm sure it's the same with every club, there are players that, if you being honest with you, you take your Spurs cap off, you go, look, you know, they're not as good as maybe we think. And that's evident, for example, with the back line, the amount of goals we can see. But with Lucas Bergwall, I think this is a gem we're talking about. And, yeah, I watched your documentary, listened to things that have been said. And, for example, I'll give you an example. So, the Swedish royal family have never spoken about a football player publicly until Lucas Bergwall was the first player that they've spoken about, and they haven't spoken about anyone since. Like, when I say publicly, I mean like to the media. And they said their words are, Lucas Bergwall is a generational talent. He's going to be captain of the Sweden team. And that coming from the royal family, it just gives you an example of how he's viewed over in Sweden, and he's seen as bigger, better, and a leader, which is really exciting. And it's about nursing him in the right way. And Tottenham, I don't think we're, unfortunately, a good club for youngsters, really. You know, in terms of, like, if you've got a youth academy, you don't really get a chance with Dane Scarlett. You know, all of a sudden we bring 5 strikers if you forget about him to the club, and you're like never given an opportunity, even though when you come on and you score in cup competitions, I'd argue what more you have to do. But no, I think Bergwall is very good. It was a good effort and very unfortunate. Like you said, it's unusual that you get that kind of height or elevation on it. So you think he done well. I really do like him. I think he's a good player, and he's one of those you think Spurs lack creativity, and he can provide that from a deeper position. So I really like him.
Yeah, I mean, I love Bergwall. I was devastated you got him ahead of us because we were chasing him as well all summer.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, very, very disappointed that he went to you guys. But hey, he's doing really well. I mean, he kind of got thrusted into it, didn't he, last season, because he had a lot of injuries. And that's probably the best thing that happened to him, was he got all those injuries to give him the chance to shine on the pitch and show what he's capable of. And he's been superb. But yeah, the first half, I mean, the first 30 minutes, you hadn't had a shot. Then you had 4, probably should have scored. You could be thinking, God, we could be 1-0 up here, and we haven't even kicked the ball properly in the first half. So it could have been a crazy, crazy end to a 45 minutes, which I thought we dominated. But again, the stats show no shots on target, you're not going to score a goal, are you? So even though we were that close, still can't believe it didn't go in. On the angle, how did that go out? I don't get it. When he hit the post on the angle that he hit it on, and it went straight out. It didn't go on an angle out. It went straight out. I'm thinking, how?
You're right. It's incredibly rare. But at the same time, I'd say, how well did he do to, you know, get it anywhere near? Really, it's such a tight angle. But you're right. When it gets to that position, and he's hit the post. Usually, it's posting in or posting in. Usually, you know, that's rare. I know, but even rarer is it to. It wasn't even close. It didn't even kind of trickle across the line, did it? It just boom, straight back out, like a kind of
straight back out. I was like, what the hell's going on here? But there we go. First half ends, second half starts. Tonali's got a slight knock by the looks of things, so they took him off and brought Bruno on. I always thought that would be the case anyway. I knew Bruno would get at least 40 minutes, 30 minutes. We're getting 45, especially with him not scoring. And I find Bruno is our most creative player. He's the one that makes everyone tick. So that was a good sign for us. But then it really changed when Anthony Gordon came on. Now, I've had so many arguments with people online about who's the better player between Barnes and Gordon. And it depends what you like to watch. Barnes is a good player cutting inside and trying to score goals. Gordon is a better player on the left wing because he'll go on the outside and the inside, and he commits the defenders because he's got pace to get around them. And that's exactly what he did to open up you guys for the first goal. So he just bombed down the left, didn't he? He just put the ball past you right back. You're not catching me. Got himself in the box, squared it back. Voldemort just lays it back to the edge of the box. And what a cool, calm finish, Sparky, from Bruno. It was brilliant in the bottom right-hand corner.
Oh,
no keeper saving that.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But just obviously before I go into that whole Bruno goal and the whole Bruno situation, obviously you just heading back on to Anthony Gordon. I just want to reiterate what you were saying. I totally agree with you. He did absolutely change the game when he came on. But not just that, the energy that the commitment that he was giving the team for actually tracking back as well. I mean, I thought that was an absolutely amazing part of his game yesterday. And then I know that we were having a slight conversation pre-show, but like the pressure for obviously coming on, obviously I know he's had a lot of pressure from the fans. He's had a lot of pressure from the club and obviously the people watching him. The world is watching Anthony Gordon, so he was under a lot of pressure to put on a performance, and I think he done that when he came on. He would change the game. And that Bruno goal as well, we always can rely on the captain coming in and putting on that shirt and firing up the crowd and firing up the players, and he got out the shit. What a goal! It was absolutely world class, absolutely world class. The older that Bruno is getting, and the more that he actually plays in the Premier League, the better and better and better he is actually getting as a footballer. He's absolutely world class.
He is. He's superb. Anything you feel Spurs could have done to stop that goal, Harry? On your side of things?
Yeah, of course, you like to look at it and go, yeah, what more could we have done? And maybe we switch off a little bit, to be honest with you. And I think we could have, to be honest with you, but I think we've also got to look at it and go, wow, boom, what an impact, from Gordon and Guimaraes as well. And, I was on a couple of Newcastle pod earlier tonight. They kind of hinted that they weren't happy with house substitutions, but I quietly thought to myself, hang on a minute, I think that the house substitutions are a big, part in here. And they're just later on in the game about going to back five, etc. And I understand why they brought it up. I also think that Howe's got some really good in-game management, and as has the opposing manager, don't get me wrong, Frank. But I just, for me, think that it was a big impact from Newcastle players. And for Spurs, yes, I think we could do better. But, I think we've got to focus on our own performance. I mean, I know you're asking me, I'm sure, about the officiating decision later. But again, just to give me a little hit. And before I say what I think about it, I think you have to focus on yourself. Newcastle have come on and, are very good. I want to focus on ourselves where we can improve. And, of course, you can improve defensively. But you've also got to go, look, Newcastle, 2 players come on, big impact. Porro's 2-touch type. To Gordon. That's the only thing I would probably say. Apart from that, Guimaraes, he's a danger. Maybe you watch him, but he also does very well. But it's a good Newcastle goal. I put my hands up and it was a deserved lead. It was just, surprised that it took so long.
Yeah, me too. I didn't realise it was missiles being thrown onto the pitch. That is very disappointing from our fan base because we are not like that. So it must have been people who were maybe won tickets in the ballot who don't normally go, because very rarely anything gets thrown onto the pitch, if that's right. I'm guessing if you didn't see it, it's probably a coin or something like that, and that's probably why the goalkeepers got very angry with it. So I mean, we very rarely have any trouble at St James's Park, to be fair. The Londoners get paid more than us up in the north. They can afford to throw money away. We can't. Right, equaliser. Gets to Kudus on the right-hand side. He puts a great in-swinging ball in. Romero gets in front of Dan Burn. Beautiful diving header. Great goal, really, in a way. I've got no complaints. My only complaint was, why was Dan Burn behind Romero rather than being side on side? And the fact that he tried to kick it when the player was diving heading it, I thought he could have done a little bit better, been a bit tighter to him to stop that goal. But it's a great header. I've got no complaints, to be fair.
I think for me, it's a goal or it's a foul, to be honest with you. If Romero tries to bring it down or anything, Burn's got to be careful where his foot is. And Burn's a really good defender. And I think generally across football, people just, whether it be the England team in particular, just go, oh, Burn. It's a really lazy excuse. There's a lot more to his game than maybe when you look at him, you think there is. I actually think his passing's okay. To be honest with you, I think he's defending as well. I don't like to see him at left back necessarily, but I think as a centre back, he's very good. He's not left back at all. But, he's not where he signed, surely, and it's not where he's played in his career.
Fantastic left centre back. He covers that left back, doesn't he?
I think you can rely on him.
Yeah,
I really think he can. I think he could do better though. If you can't, some would say, if you can't mark a defender, then there's a little bit of a concern. But Romero at the same time, he acted like a striker in this game and was causing problems. But for Burn, I just think you've got to be careful because if Romero's clever, he probably gets a foul, or like he scored. So Burn will be disappointed. Yeah. But you can tell by the reaction, and that's what you want to see. I know it doesn't help in this situation. It's what we want to see from a player. A lot of our defenders, like we can see 4 goals to Arsenal. It's all hands on hips and look into the sky, like, how long till dinner time kind of thing. Whereas Burn, has looked at it and gone, look, I'm frustrated. And I prefer that because he knows he's better. So he's like, and then after that, if you notice, he actually defends really well. So, I think it tells you volume to the type of player he is and the attitude he's shown.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we go on to the next two goals, I'll quickly do this. Diacro, amazing sponsors of the channel. 20% off using code BARS20. Link is in the description. And we've got two $40 gift cards to give away this month, with it being Christmas, and I haven't done one for a while. So look out for that. I'll get it done soon. So we've got to be a member. So 99p to join the channel, and then you'll get thrown into the raffle. Of course, Sparky's company, Geordie Land Experience. If you want to get yourself out there and learn about the Northeast and have a walk around with Sparky as a tour guide, best place for you, really. So anyone traveling over soon from America or anywhere, you want to learn about our culture and history, that's the way to do it. And of course, we've got Prince Charming as well in Wallsend, an amazing company. They do key cutting prints, they do frame shirts, but they've got loads of memorabilia, like not just football, but cinema, other sports as well, movies, you name it, he's got it. So get yourself down to there. All the links are in the description below. And we've got a special one coming up in February. I've managed to land this. So we are doing a talk-in at Newcastle Benfield Football Club. Thank you for them for hosting it for free. All the money, no one's having a fee. Everyone's giving their fees up to go to the two charities, which is Azure, which is Gibbo's charity, and the Butterwick Hospice, which is Graham Bailey's charity. All the money made from ticket sales, from raffles, from everything on the night, apart from the bar, because of course that's Newcastle Benfield's, will be donated to the two charities. So you can buy your tickets now. Just email me and I can send you the link to where you need to go to secure your ticket. And £15 per person to hear two legends of the Northeast, Supermac and Gibbo. They're absolutely amazing together. Come and get yourself down to a great non-league football club with cheap beer as well. That's the other good side of it. So get your tickets for that, guys. I can't wait to do that. Belt the tour guide. Of course he is.
Come on, ain't no party like a sparkle party, I tell you.
Right. We mentioned Gordon's impact. We're going to come to that penalty decision. There's been a lot of discussion online with it. I think it's a penalty, but only because of the way the law is written. I would not give it. That is my response, and that's what I've said. I said, looking at it, it is very, very, very soft. But the way the rules are written, because VAR is looking at it, they've given the referee no choice, in my eyes. There's a lot of holding. The ball ends up in Dan Burns' area. Probably would have got a header off. Probably wouldn't have scored, to be honest with you, because he only scores once in a blue moon. But because he's been held, and this headlock thing's doing my head in, because Burns got his arms up in the air and Romaro's head's there, or whoever's Vicaro's or whoever it was, head's in his armpit. A headlock is like that, not like that, right? We need to get that bit right. So it's a soft one, Harry. I'm not going to lie. It's very, very soft. But the letter of the law says it's a penalty.
Yeah, I think you put it well, and I think you put it like that on X as well. I think you're spot on in terms of it's frustrating. Of course, I look at it at the time and go, oh, it's such a frustrating decision. But just in context, I said it before, I don't believe in blaming officials, because you can look over minor things. But if you're, as a fan, worried about not getting a goal here and there, I mean, there's got to be something wrong with your team to focus on that minor details, because, you've got to be, you shouldn't be worrying about that. Put it that way. As a team, you could do so much more, and Tottenham could have done even more. As though I'm happy, we could have done more in the game. So, yeah, someone say, okay, it did have an impact on the game. If it's my decision, I think that happens all around the pitch and did happen in a physical game. Yeah. I think Burns is a really physical player. And I think if you look at his reaction, because Burn had to be informed, because I'm not a lip reader or anything like that, but my nan is, and etc. And I don't think you need to be a lip reader to work out that Burn was absolutely shocked that he's been checked by VAR. I don't think he knew what, which I think tells you what you need to know. And then he should see his face when it was given, and it was like, me, hang on, what's going on here? And it's quite, if you take it again, you suppose how off, it's quite funny and comical. But I like that from Burn because I think it shows that he's a physical player, and that's why I like my teams to be aggressive. I like my teams to be physical and good defensively. Hence why I quite like Frank in that way in terms of being defensive. But I think as a game as a whole, we're just losing that whole kind of aggressive part, get stuck in, or as Roy Keane would say, literally, leave one on someone, and all the things that he says, smash into somebody. And, there's a point though. I think you need that in a game. You certainly need that in a derby. This isn't the derby, but it's a big game. That's what you need. So for me, I like to see that all around the pitch, but it's been given as a foul. We can't change that. He got to move on. And one of those that goes, look, poor decision. Okay, let's move on. And that's why I have a match review on my channel. Decided not to speak about it. Spoke about it at the time, but I think you have to move on and go, look, it's happened. It's in the past. Let's focus on our performance. How can we move that going forward? That's just me as a fan. So yeah, not the decision I would have made, but I agree with you. Letter of the law says something, isn't it? You can't be overly aggressive for more than said amount of time. And again, if you can really be anal almost and look into it, then Ben School does break those rules. And I like them two having a tussle. They both look like they wanted that, enjoyed it. I don't know why Ben School's marking him, to be honest with you. I think he's one of the shorter players on the pitch, but hey ho.
That was a mismatch, wasn't it? That was a
why don't we focus on that? Spurs fans should be focusing on that. Why is Benton call marking? I'd rather that be the topic of conversation moving forward. But hey ho, it is what it is. Move on.
It is. Sparky, there was a lot of waiting time before Gordon got to put the ball down on the spot. He took his time. I was worried because he did the whole taking a bit longer than I thought he should, but he let his air out like Harry Kane does, and then he smashed it in the corner, and it was a lovely penalty, wasn't it?
It was a lush penalty, definitely. And to be totally honest, a lot of pressure was on that penalty as well. Especially with Anthony Gordon not actually scoring since January, which was a mission ago, last season. That is going into last season. And that's halfway through last season as well. So you're talking absolutely donkeys since a goal for Anthony Gordon so far to come down and take that penalty. And do you know what it is? When he was standing there and he did take his time to do the run up and that, and I was just thinking, oh my God, I'm on edge, I say. And honestly, it was just so good to see that goal in the back of the net. He absolutely smashed it in. But just what I was saying just a little bit earlier, I thought how he jumped on there, the unity and the celebrations with with the players all coming together and the handshakes and the high fives and all that carry on. It was just really, really good to see. And we look like now a squad who have got that momentum back. We're now settled as a team and as a family, and who will play for each other as well as the badge. So, that goal was vitally important for Anthony Gordon. So well on, Sonner.
Yeah. The reason why Big Nick didn't take it is Anthony Gordon has been given penalty duties. So when he's on the pitch, he's the main penalty taker. That's the reason why Voldemort took the one that he did score, is because Anthony Gordon was off the pitch at the time, you see. So Gordon's been given that responsibility. So, there's no other man to step up and take it. So it's nice to have more than one option, though, isn't it? Because Voldemort, when he took his penalty, he absolutely smashed it against Forest in the top corner. It was beautiful, but there we go.
Lovely.
So that you did mention about Harry, about the tactical changes that Eddie Howe made. I had absolutely no problems at all with Shaw coming on when he came on. You guys were pushing to get an equaliser. I thought this was probably your best spell of the game, to be fair. You looked very dangerous. You were winning corner after corner. Everyone was saying we sat back and we allowed them to come onto us by making that change. I was like, we were already sitting back. We were trying to defend a lead with 9 minutes to go of injury time. You can't blame Eddie Howe for making that decision in my eyes. And I think it was a good decision to try and shore up the defense, because you were battering us at that point, and it was like, where's this Spurs team been for the last 80 minutes? This is what I was expecting to see for, a bit of a ding-dong game, but it never happened. And it wasn't until you came on very strongly in the last, I would say, 15 to 19 minutes, about the 80-minute mark. And with 9 minutes extra time, you had literally a 20-minute spell where I thought, this is tough. It's a tough watch. And we weren't really counter-attacking properly. So the goal was coming, really, in that respect.
It was, and I think you're right. I think you're right to highlight it as well. I think you looked like you'd sat back. Yes, I think maybe there's a wider point to have in terms of maybe Newcastle could be better at seeing games out. I think you've dropped a lot of points. Correct me if I'm wrong.
11.
This season, and we need to see that's the loads. So can you really, have a go at a manager for trying to defend when you have a problem with defending? That's what I would say. Because if you bring more players on, it's about defending. Some would say you need to keep hold of the ball. I was surprised, if I'm being honest with you, Baz, that you didn't keep hold of the ball, get the crowd involved, and see the game out that way. Because I always fear, as a fan, go to James's Park and you get hold of the ball and crowds behind you, you've got a real problem in your hands. So I think you had the potential to see the game out at 2-1. I think sometimes you've got to go, and Spurs weren't great. You've got to, also say that Spurs, do deserve credit that they got back in the game, coming back twice. I'm really proud of my side to come back twice as at James's Park and get a result at a time where the manager and the players are being questioned, whether they've got it in them at all to be part of the club, to get in them, and in terms of can they get a result in big games. These type of conversations going on. There's a big divide right now, unfortunately, again at the club. And games like this, for me, if you don't get behind that or see some kind of confidence in that, I question what the point of being a supporter is. I really do. I mean, you're always getting in touch with your opinion, but I look at that and go, that's a big result. You can unpick the performance as much as you like, but not many teams go to James's Park and get a result. That's not going to change. It's a tough place to go. It's a real tough place to go. But I agree with you. I think it's the right thing to do for Eddie Howe, and I think Fabian Schär's a good defender to see out the game. And I don't think it was him that's the problem here. The problem is maybe that it's Paul marking, which I don't know, get on to a second goal, but also it's a very good bit of play from Romero. There's things that Newcastle could do better. So lastly, Baz, I think the only thing that some people would say, and I haven't heard it yet, but I'm just thinking out loud, it could be completely wrong. But when you have more defenders on the pitch, maybe is it a case of, do I do that job? Do you do the job? And kind of maybe get in each other's way a little bit. You've got to use the two centre backs. They know where they are. They know who's got who, what their job is. They have one more. Then it's like, have you got him? Have you got him? Or should I go here? Or just want me as cover? Maybe that goes on. But they would have practiced it in training. They would have done something. But
we have played five at the back before, so I don't think
exactly.
That's
but that's the thing. We'd be having this conversation, wouldn't we? If it didn't work, I tell you what, let's say that he didn't make the change and you'd lost, drew 2-2. They'd be like, Eddie Howe doesn't know how to see out a game, But I do think all part of the game plan from Frank, I'm sure some of it, not all of it, would have been let's get to the last 10, 15 minutes and not necessarily a draw, but let's be in the game. That would have been absolutely in there. Let's be in the game. Let's use our substitutes. It probably didn't go, of course, exactly as planned. But I think that was also part of the plan. So I just think we've done well on that aspect.
Yeah, no, definitely. And there's a couple of things for me, Sparky, on this goal that really frustrated me. First of all, Ramsdale's punch, he almost knocks out Dan Burn and he doesn't get the ball properly. So the ball goes up in the air and it stays inside the box. If you're a goalkeeper in that position in the 95th minute, you want your goalkeeper to catch the ball and take the pressure off. I think Nick Pope catches that ball. Or if he punches it, he gets a better punch on it because he's got a bigger reach. The second thing that really frustrated me is look how many bodies there are when he does the bicycle kick. There are 3 Newcastle bodies in front of the goalkeeper that could clear that ball. And not one of them got a touch on it, which is the other frustrating thing. And the pace that it went in at, Ramsdale doesn't get across quick enough. He's got a clear view of it. When you see the one, but I haven't got the one from behind the goal, but if you see the one from behind the goal, you can see he's got a clear view of what's happening in front of him. He doesn't get over quick enough. I think Nick Pope gets over faster because he's got a longer reach and saves that. And loads of people are saying, well, you slate Nick Pope for this, slate Nick Pope for that, and then Ramsdale's in goal, you slate him because he's not in goal. I've always been a big Nick Pope fan and defended him because he's a better shot stopper than anything we've got. Ramsdale is better with his feet. I just want to mould them both together to make the perfect goalkeeper, but that's the situation we're in. But that's the frustration side of it from me, Sparky, when it comes to that, because he shins it as well. He doesn't exactly get a clean contact on it. You can see it's halfway up his leg, halfway up his shin, sorry.
Honestly, I didn't even get started. I just don't understand this. I just don't understand the goal. Honestly, football's mad. It's absolutely crazy. I don't understand how a player can shin it from just outside the
12 yards he shinned it from.
Yeah, from 12 yards onwards to go for, like, just as you were saying there, Baz, to trickle through one, like 5 players for the pace for it just to roll in, but credit to Romano, like some effort, like, and it's paid off.
To have a go, to do that as a defender, to think, sod it, I'm gonna pull out a Ronaldo here. He kind of does.
I was absolutely foaming because he absolutely mugged it off even further by doing like Bruno's whole celebration and then saying like, "This is my house," and plus with like the Brazil and Argentine rivalry, like honestly, he totally mugged off. But fair play, and I take my hat off to Spurs for. I'm not going to lie, Baz, I had it wrote down there 8 minutes, on the 8, like from the 80 minutes onward, Spurs dominated the game, and I was just like thinking, when are they going to score? You could just see it coming. They were knocking on the door. They were more up for it. And for me, Aaron Ramsdale's positioning, if you look back at that overhead kick, shin, whatever you want to call it, for me, it looks like he thought he was actually closer to the byline than that he actually was.
He had a great view of it. There's no excuses for me from the goalkeeper, because he was covering the post, which you expect him to, because the ball's on that side. So as a goalkeeper, you want him on that side. He's covering the right angle. It's just the fact that he doesn't seem to move or react quick enough, knowing where the ball's going. I think he's expecting one of the defenders to hoof it out. I really do.
Definitely. I mean, come Saturday, get John Ruddy in.
No, definitely not. 100% not. But there we go.
It don't get any worse.
Yeah, I mean, Harry, it's to have the balls to do that as a centre back, to just think, sorry, I'm going for this. You got to give him credit for that.
You have, and attackers haven't stepped up for Tottenham, so defenders have. Van der Ven and Romero have been well among the goals this year, especially Van der Ven, but his partner getting the brace in this game. That's the thing, a brace for Romero. I think that speaks volumes that we lack creativity. We lack anything going forward. 5 strikers at the club, but one can't hit a barn door. I know that not everyone's fit, but you get the point here. But for Newcastle, I'd be extremely concerned, as though I'm happy. And look, you know me, Baz. I've been on here enough. I've done stuff with you enough to know that I just say it how it is. And even if it's not popular amongst the fan base, it's an average shot from Romero. I'm glad that he's tried it, and I like that he's had a go from the overhead kick, but it's almost like not an overhead kick, because it's not a very good one anyway, because it should be a catch and relieve the Newcastle pressure. So from Ramsdale, he's got to take some kind of responsibility for that. Of course, I know you don't see it as a goalkeeper, but that's the whole part of your training. There's been a lot of conversations there. Who should be Newcastle #1? For me, I think Nick Pope's a very, very good goalkeeper. I think he had a moment of madness in the Champions League, which did cost you. I think it did derail you in the early part of the second half. I think he has got to take responsibility for that. It was single-handedly him. But at the same time, he doesn't control how Newcastle respond after that mistake, does he? It's not necessary you go and concede the second. So for me, I think, I'll be honest with you, Pope for me is a better overall keeper. It's just the fact that Ramsdale's maybe got a little bit better distribution. He'll be in the team. But all round as a goalkeeper, Pope for me, I see as a lot higher level. I think I think Ramsdale's okay. Or I think Pope's a good goalkeeper. That's the difference. It's just in my view. Again, doesn't mean I'm right. But Romero for me has got far too much time. Let's pretend he wasn't doing the overhead kick. He can bring it down and shoot. He's got far too much room. And there are a lot of Newcastle players, unfortunately, doing nothing. Burns really in the way, if anything. I know you've got to get there to get a shot, but if you look at it, really, there's only in front of the overhead kick, excluding Grace, Spencer level. Exactly. There's only 3 Spurs players that I can see in my eye that are kind of ahead of the ball there. And it looks like, I think it's Bentancur, I think it is Richarlison, and I'd assume someone like Moani, I think in front of him is very hard to see, maybe Sarr. And, it's just crazy. And that's the thing. And I just don't understand. There's so many Newcastle players, 9 you say there, marking 3. I mean, get out to Romero. He's a defender, for God's sake, and he's already scored in the game. That should be your warning sign. So Ramsdale will be frustrated with his defenders. The defenders will be frustrated with the goalkeeper. That's a story when you concede the goal. But for Newcastle, I think mainly it's 2 avoidable goals. I'd love to sit here and go, look, Spurs 2 good goals. I'm really happy still, Baz, but I think you've got to look back and go, come on, these goals are preventable that we conceded.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see this out of shot, but Elanga is standing right next to Romero, who actually did the bicycle kick, and he never really put his head in.
I thought he's poor. He's poor when he come on for me.
Yeah, I feel sorry for him. He's still trying to find his way.
Yeah, I like him generally.
but he should have done better in that position, because if he had gone with his head to try and head that ball away, that would be then classed as high foot. Then it would be disallowed because it would be dangerous play. But he doesn't put himself in danger because he's a bit too soft, I think is probably the best way to look at it. So very frustrating. Yeah, what's your question, Sparky?
Yeah, so just obviously a question for Harry, really. So obviously, once again, thanks for coming on. Nice to meet you again, mate.
Me too.
So I know that you've mentioned like a little bit earlier on in the show about that's something that you wish you had within the Tottenham camp, which was that unity and that togetherness and that fan base that are like united, like those Geordies are. What I want to know, would you say that was a captain's performance from Christian Morero last night?
Yes, I would say it was. I think it's a tough game, and as captain stepped up, I really do. And I like Romero, but at the same time, I think he's gone missing, like in terms of the media duties and results haven't been good. And, you know, I'm all for this. Put your message across on social media, put your message across to the fans. But Romero was nowhere to be seen after the Chelsea and Arsenal defeat, you know, or the Fulham defeat. But he's there. He was after the game because he scored a couple of goals. I think he's a great player, but if we just look at it a little bit more than that, but you're right, it was a captain's performance, and I think the whole thing you spoke about the Guimaraes is purely just a Brazil and Argentina rivalry. But I like 100%. It, you know. I love it though. You know, Tottenham and Newcastle, two big sides, and I just like the going at each other. I like what we saw in the box. I know it was given us a penalty, but I like that. I like the Guimaraes and Romero's one of those players you think you certainly push your luck a little bit, mate. That's how he does that. So I thought it's class both ways. I think Guimaraes is a great captain, by the way, and doesn't get spoken about enough. I think because Guimaraes is that aggressive player, he's painted, in my view, I want to get your thoughts, as this kind of, you know, evil kind of nasty guy that bends the rules, etc., etc. He's anything but that. I think we saw that moment where he celebrated and goes over to that fan in the wheelchair. That's what Guimaraes is about. That's what Newcastle's about. It's about the community. It's about including everyone. And Eddie Howe is the perfect manager for what you represent as a football club. And that brings the wider question to Spurs. Is Frank the right manager for what represents Spurs? And I'll be honest with you, as someone who likes him and wants him at this club, no, because we have this motto to dare is to do, and I get why it's there, and I think you should always give it a go, always try. But at the same time, I think that's really small club mentality to sit here and go, yeah, as long as we have a go, or we attack, and that's not me. And maybe I'm outdated in my view, or maybe, you know, it's just my opinion, not seeing the past. You know, I think I've watched football for a few years to know that it's a results-based game. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, Frankie's a results-based manager. That's what he's done at Brentford, and he'd get results against big six teams. Again, Spurs fans look at it and go, you know, we haven't got results against Arsenal, haven't got results against Chelsea. Oh, that means that Frank's not a big game manager. No, it doesn't mean that at all. He was a big game manager at Brentford, and we acted like a big team in terms of we were very clinical. And we weren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we're a team that's shot of confidence. You know, 3 defeats in a row before that game. It would have been, you know, plenty more, I'm sure, if we hadn't played, you know, other players, etc. You know, it could have been a lot worse. I just look at it and go, that's a game to really build confidence. But Sparky, you asked a really good question. We missed that community and that kind of feel. And I know it's hard. I get it. In terms of Tottenham's different, whether it be the prices or having loads of clubs in London. I think a lot of it is on the club. They just treat you as a customer, nothing else. They're not interested. If anything was going to happen to you, they're not interested in your kind of what's going on with you. It's all like, yeah, thank you, leave the stadium, and just I'll go into so much detail with it. But the point is, Frank is the manager to restore that. There's a massive disconnect. And for me, you've got a real problem within the fan base when you're going after 14 games that this manager's all of a sudden poison and should leave the club. Then you've got a real problem. And the fact that I sit here and I defended Ange and I'm now defending Frank, but that's seen as like, what are you doing? You know, that doesn't make sense. Pick a side. It shouldn't be pick a side. It should be support the team and support the manager. Yeah. That's what I do. And I think supporters, their job, and I'm not lecturing Spurs fans, but their job is to support the team through thick and thin. And I'm going to say it now. I think majority of especially the social media Spurs fan base do not support through thick and thin. They support when they want to support, when things are going well. Sparky asked a good question. I've gone around the houses, but you're absolutely right in terms of the community feel is there at Newcastle and isn't there at Tottenham.
Yeah, I agree with that. Make it quick, Sparky, because we're running out of time.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Just another question, just while we're on the Spurs thing as well. So obviously, I know that Heung-min Son actually departed. Was it over the summer? Was it last season? There? Yeah. I just want to know how much that has that affected like your overall fan base and the overall club as a whole. Do you think, or do you
could be coming back? Couldn't he? on loan.
Things are over that. Just very interested. That's all.
Yeah, no, thank you firstly for the question. I'm trying not to take an age for Bas's sake on this one, but
it's
I think
your sake.
Well, yeah, I could talk all night. I'm sure you can gather that. Honestly, I'll speak for way too long. I'll go around the houses literally a million times. But with Son, I can admit that. I think that he's a very class individual. I think the majority of our Spurs fans look at it and go, it was right to move him on. Thank you for what you've done. It was right to move you on. But even that, I speak about problems in the Spurs fan base. He was like painted as the enemy at the end. No, he's just someone that slowed down a little bit, probably needs to change in his career. I just don't get where you can't be grateful for the past. There's just this thing in the fan base. You can't be grateful for the past, but also realise it's time for a change. I just don't get it. But I was like thankful for Ange, but then I look at it now and go, probably it was right. But you just can't think like that. And I just don't understand why it's not allowed. But Son, we miss his maybe leadership a little bit. I like Son off the pitch, and you're right in terms of the community feel, that type of thing we're talking about. Son was absolutely that. So I know why you've highlighted it, and you're right to do so. But I believe, like, again, instead of yesterday focusing on the officials, again, and not just yesterday, but beyond, focus on like the owners upstairs. We didn't replace Son. And even though he was slowing down, he's proven to the MLS, he's still got, ability, and he can still do it. If it's the right level and right pace of game, he can still produce, put it that way. I think that's real credit to him. But we didn't replace Son. No one's signed in that left wing position. And we let a couple of left wingers go. Werner's loan ended, Son left, and that's criminal. If you said to any fan in the Premier League or outside the Premier League, Tottenham, they sold Heung-min Son, they didn't replace him. They go, sorry, what? You have me on? Yeah. Seriously, that's the concerning thing. So the club have got to take responsibility for that. We do miss Son. I don't want to use it as an excuse. We do miss him, but the club is still trying to clutch on to the money that he brings in. I know they're doing it. I know it makes sense, but like we're trying to bring him back. We're back for the Slavia Prague game. He's going to come on and do this, and they're still selling things in the shop. So we hold on to him that way. I think a lot of it is because we can't sign. We don't have it in us to sign the ability of players that he's got. We're not that kind of club. That's the problem. And a lot of us go, people go, Spurs spent the money. We have, but we haven't spent it wisely. And Son was a great buy for 17 million, I think, at the time.
Oh, it was a huge gem of a find.
Yeah,
huge one.
Great question, by the way.
The other one about, you obviously mentioned Thomas Frank beating the bigger teams, but he had two fantastic forward players, didn't he? He had Wissa and Mbeumo. You don't have that.
No, we have.
So
Talon Odebear and Richarlison.
Yeah, but Richarlison's, he was on the bench last night. You've got Solanke who's injured, and I like Solanke. But yeah, that's the thing. Thomas Frank's game management and how he sets up a team relies on pace and quality up front to finish things. And you don't have that at the moment. And that's where Thomas Frank has unfortunately been let down. And like Son could have been a great player under Thomas Frank potentially. I know he's getting older, but he still could have done a job. But yeah, so the last thing from us very quickly is Wissa could be on the bench on Saturday. He's played 2 friendly games behind the scenes, 11v11. He's come out unscathed. We don't know if he scored any goals, but that doesn't matter. It's all about getting minutes in the legs. So we are looking forward to hopefully seeing him on the bench against Burnley and maybe getting a run out for 15, 20 minutes. Don't expect fireworks as soon as he comes back. He's going to need time to settle in, get used to it. But that is a massive bonus for us. And he's not going to the African Cup of Nations either, which is a huge decision for him personally. And I think the Newcastle fans need to thank him for that, to be fair, because he's just given up his international life now. That's a major competition for them. Will he be at the next 1 or 2 years' time? Possibly not. Depends how he, holds on to his body and looks after himself, I suppose. And by the way, Leeds are beating Chelsea 2-0, which is a huge result. Brighton were 2-0 up against Villa, and it's now 2-2. That's another good result for us and for Spurs as well, of course. This point did, very last point, very, very quickly, Harry. The point did neither team any good, really, did it, at this stage of the season, looking at the table. 3 points could have been massive for either team, jumping up to 7th in the league instead of being 12th and 13th.
Absolutely. No, you're 100% right. Cheers, mate. Good, nice comment. Thank you very much. But I think both teams have struggled in the league. There's no doubt about it. But I think sometimes you've got to open your eyes a little bit at fans and go, look, both clubs are doing well in the Champions League, competing against top oppositions. So again, the context is important in that case. But both clubs should be further up in the table. There's no secret about that. I think as a club, you're in a better place than us. Yeah, 3-2 Villa. They've turned it completely around.
They keep doing it. They keep doing it though. That's like 4 games in a row.
It's the 2 informed teams, isn't it? You know, Brighton have really turned a corner, which hasn't been spoken about. They've won finally away from home a few times now, and Villa are bang on form. We'll have to see what happens there. But no,
Villa are the ones I'm worried about.
Villa, they look really good. But no, Tottenham, Newcastle should be further up in the table. There's no secret about that. I think you're in a club, like I said, a better place than us. I think, you know, in terms of maybe trajectory and just overall feel within the club right now. So if I'm being honest with you, I think you probably do finish above us, but both clubs need to work their way up the table, because I think both clubs will definitely be in the top 8, even, let's say, come the end of the year. But that doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, I want European football, but for me, it is also about trophies. And not saying that it's all about trophies, and not one of them either, but I like the thought of juggling all competitions. Frank's the right manager for Tottenham in terms of competing in all 4, well, not all 4 fronts now, all 3 fronts. It's getting lower and lower, isn't it? But all 3 fronts so far. He's the manager for that, but is he the manager to take the risk or represent Spurs? I'm not on those Spurs, because literally I sit people near me, Baz, and there's a load of people inside the stadium on social media that go, look, I don't care. We can lose 7-0, but we've had to go and have more possession, and that's the way I want to play football. I cannot get my head around that at all. I play it nice, and I don't call it out on my own channel or within Spurs fans, but I go on other channels and go, look, I actually don't think this is right, but I do plan to address it. I need to come across the right way before getting, you know, shut down and called Hitler like I did last week. So I need to come across it the right way to not upset the fan base. But no, both clubs will work their way up the table. A draw didn't help either, but I think it's probably a better point for Tottenham on reflection.
Yep, I agree. Kevin Keegan did it in Newcastle, tried to score more than the opposition all the time, and it didn't work in the end. We had played lovely football, but we never win a competition. We couldn't win a cup because we weren't consistent enough, and we couldn't win the league because we couldn't see it out. So there you go. It doesn't always work like that. If you want to be entertained, then yeah, fair enough. But if you want to win things, you need to win ugly as well as winning well. So you've got to get that balance. And through a full season of 38 games, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to be good at times. You're going to be poor. But when you're poor, you want to be winning 1-0. You want to be grinding out results. And that's what both teams aren't doing at the moment. So it's going to be a long, hard season, but it's a good one. Thank you to everyone. I know Harry's got to shoot and do his own show now. Sparky, thanks for coming on last minute. Dan's not well. Thanks for that, man. And we will see you all. Friday night will be the next one. So tune in then when we discuss the game against Burnley.
Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure. I have been on the show again. And Harry, it was nice to meet you. I'm going to try and hunt you down on social media and get connected with you, brother. And good luck.
Yes, you too. Definitely.
Right, guys.
Great questions.
4-2 to Villa now. 4-2. Right. See you all Friday.